present and emerging and any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander peoples here with us today. This is our last session. Well done. Before we start, you're all having dinner because we're all working after hours, so eat please, and drink. There's also drink too. Who can tell me something they learned from last session?
I know running record,
Yep.
time record,
Mm-hmm.
and lesson.
Well done.
I don't know.
Yep. Perfect. All right. So okay, by the end of the session, you will have an understanding about how to write your own observations, the type of language to use, how to interpret them, links to the ELF, and how to follow up, implement, and or what is next. Okay, so we are going to talk about the types of language and phrases to use, subjective and objective language. Who can tell me why we need to use certain types of language when we write an observation? Why can't we just write, Johnny hit Sally over the head with a shovel?
Because we can't maybe assume what they're thinking.
Well done. Yeah, definitely. Why else can't we
You have to
just...
say it in a respectful manner.
Well done, Alyssa. Say in a respectful manner. Excellent. Okay. All right. We are going to get straight into it. We're going to grab... I'm going to hand out some paper and pens. And we're going to watch this video. And we're all going to write a few dot points about what you... maybe 3 or 4 particular things that you observed that stood out for you in the video. So I'll just give everybody a paper. So you could just write it up the top. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Phyllis, I forgot to give you a pen.
That's okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Okay, so this is a 2-minute video about 2 children at playing tees, I think, and they have a bit of a chat. So just listen out for certain things that catch your eye. Do I need to make it louder?
Here's water for both the future pool. Thank you. Not too much water.
Cute.
What is floating in those clothes?
It's meat.
Oh, okay.
Listen.
The same as meat. 14. So, out of that video, who can tell me something that they observed during that, or something that stood out to them?
It's definitely a leader.
She was focused.
Yep, leader, focused, well
Yeah.
done. What else?
Or happy communicating between themselves.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. Language, there is social emotional
Yeah.
development.
Awareness socially. She'll find the skill.
Yeah.
Pouring.
Yeah, definitely pouring. It's very good that they have given the children real life objects to pour instead of, plastic
Yeah.
cups and a plastic jug. It's very good because obviously if and when it breaks, then there's another lesson involved in that as well.
Practical life.
Yes, exactly right. Yes. So obviously when we are observing children, we need to make sure that our language is non-judgmental, that we're not labelling the child, that no one assuming anything that the child is not doing, and we need to be very careful about the type of language we use. So subjective language in observations are often influenced by our own past events, personal experiences, opinions, and can be biased based on our own cultural background. So this can really impact the way that we write in observations with no fault of our own. It's just the way that some of us are brought up. But using subjective language is something that we can use to when writing observations to ensure we're not being judgmental about the child. For example, we're going to look at this picture. In one word, Phyllis, can you tell me what you see in this picture?
Very colourful.
Very colourful. And how would you describe this picture?
Bright.
Alyssa?
I see the sun.
Yeah?
Eternity.
Eternity. Take me now. So some people would say that this painting is beautiful, but everyone's perception of what is beautiful is very, very different. And that's why a subjective statement like this is a beautiful painting, to one person it may be beautiful, to another person it might be really ugly. Yeah. So now we're going to talk about objective language. So objective language is based upon what we observe when we use our senses. So we need to record exactly what we see, hear, taste, touch, and smell. So we're going to look at the picture again, and using objective language, we're going to describe it. So, Sim, can you tell me objectively what you see in that picture?
Colourful. No.
So objectively, I can see that there is blue in the picture. Alyssa, what do you see
What
objectively?
objectively mean?
So see it exactly how the thing is.
Oh, I see like flowers because they're bright.
Yeah.
And
So
then
you
in my
you
face.
see flowers.
Yeah.
You see sky.
Is that
You see sky.
objectively? I
Yes.
see the sky. I see the sun
So-
bearing through.
Yeah. So objectively, I'm looking at this picture and I'm saying that there is a red flower. And
Oh, okay.
yeah.
A
So
blue sky.
you're seeing exactly what is there. Yeah, the blue sky.
The
there-
white clouds.
Yes,
The
yes.
grey clouds, are you colourblind?
Oh.
There's some white ones.
Yeah, there is some white ones. See, that's why this objective and subjective language is so important to use.
It's saying what you see.
Yes, exactly right. And when we're observing children, we also need to write exactly what they are doing. You can't just say, oh yeah, he picked up the pink pencil and did this, when it really is not factual. So we need to be really factual with what we write. Alright, so because it is very, very hard to write observations that are objective and So we're going to talk about phrases and words to avoid. So another important decision when writing your observation is the tone that you're going to write about. So in this picture, we've got Bella. She is eating some fruit, and this educator has written, Bella snatched the bowl of fruit and started eating it. I had to tell her to stop to share the fruit with Jack. What do you think that is? Objective or subjective?
Subjective,
Why do you think that, Alyssa?
because it's not being respectful in the word.
Well done. So a better way to say that would be, Bella is learning how to share out her fruit. I encouraged her by saying one for B and one for Jack.
Yep.
So see how much
Cherry.
better that sounds than, oh, she just snatched from her friends.
Yeah, it's harsh.
It
Yeah,
gives what
very-
we're working
yes.
towards as well.
That's right. All right. Oh yes, so because it is very, very hard when writing observations to find the words to use when writing them. So I have written a bit of a cheat sheet for you all to take with you, which gives you a few observation and key words to use when writing your observations and words to avoid when you are writing your observations.
Yeah?
Definitely.
Thanks.
That's all right. So, when is the right time to observe? Phyllis, when is the right time to observe, do you think?
Anytime a learner's happening.
Well done. Any time of the day.
Operating hours.
Yeah, from open to close. There isn't a certain time throughout the day where you think you need to observe. It can happen right bang, you know, when we open the doors or when we close. The children are learning and we need to observe this the entire time that they are with us, so we get a holistic picture of where the child is, where we can help them, where there's learning gaps that we can help them progress. Alright, so once you have written your observations, we need to do an interpretation. So when we're interpreting observations, you need to think about the child's social, emotional, cognitive, fine motor, gross motor, and language, both expressive and receptive language. And the reason we do that is to ensure that we get that whole picture of the child, not just, oh, he's great at running around and doing gross motor activities, but we know nothing about his language or his fine motor skills. So when we're interpreting, make sure we cover all the developmental domains to ensure that we know the child as a whole. When interpreting observations, write the learning that has occurred. Did the child use verbal language? Did they speak? Did they use cues? Did they, give you eye contact? Did they pull you by the arm? Did they tug you on your shirt? Did the child interact with others? What did they say? Did they take turns? Or, did an educator have to interrupt and, help them take turns? Did the child use problem-solving skills as well? So now, if I can turn the page. So after you have interpreted your observations, you have to link it to the ELF. So in the ELF we have 5 learning outcomes, and these outcomes, can be very hard to get your head around. So if you haven't seen these before, in those ELF books that I gave you before, try and familiarise yourself with each of the learning outcomes, because this will be very helpful for you when you're writing your observations. And also with those sheets that I gave you, there is this linking. So in the first column we've got children have a strong sense of identity. So this means that on drop-off and pick-up, children can display the ability to detach from their parents on drop-off. These include things like home corner, Sandpit play, puzzles, books, songs, building blocks, drawing, painting, climbing, running. So this will be very, very helpful for you when you're writing your observation. So you can have an observation on children building with blocks and you go, oh, can't remember, like what am I going to do? You can go to this sheet and you can see, oh, it's over here in outcome 1 and see how that is linking into the child's learning. So this will take you a little while to learn, but the more you practice, the more you look at the ELF, the more you engage with all these outcomes, it'll become second nature and you'll just know them off by heart. Before we go to the next slide, is there any questions? No? So the last thing you have to do when you write your observation is to do a follow-up or a what's next. So the follow-up, so from your interpretation, you need to figure out what is missing for that child. What's the next step? Do they need more time practicing fine motor skills? Do they need more time to do gross motor activities? Do they need more help with their emotional regulation? Do they need more help with their language? And then from there, you need to come up with a follow-up activity or experience for that child or group of children, and then that will be placed into the curriculum. Yes. So we're going to get straight into it, and we're going to write our own observations now. So we're going to watch 2 videos. We're going to make the notes. You're going to choose your own observation. You're going to write the observation, and then we're going to share what follow-up activity you're going to plan for that child. Oh, Alyssa, your pen has broken.
The pen got you.
Yeah, you can have a new one.
Thank you.
That's all right.
Put it in the book.
Okay. All right. Everyone ready? So this first one is about nature.
I was just writing on here.
Yeah, so write some notes about what you see in the observation, and then I'll give you 10 minutes, 15 maybe 10, to quickly write down an observation and choose which observation style you would like to write on.
Okay, too easy.
Cirque du Soleil returns to Sydney with Illusia, a waking dream of Mexico.
talk about the birds, what type of bird the love to eat the seed.
Oh, excellent, yeah, definitely, well
They
done.
will weight and scale the seeds, look at the differences, what
Mhm.
type of seed they are.
Yeah, perfect. Excellent. We're going to watch the next one. So when we wrap up, I will collect your observations and I will read through them and give you some feedback about how you went as well. All right, this one is about painting.
Are we planning to follow up?
Yes, please. Yeah, same as the last one. Yeah.
Please.
Very messy.
Oh,
Why is it so fun?
because
Kids
it's
love
easy and
doing that. They
working.
love it.
The more you sit there.
This is for my secret.
So let's start.
Oh, look at him go. His name.
I'm doing that on my own.
It's a good experience to do, yeah, especially when you find the moment of there. Definitely. Okay, who would like to share what follow-up activity we could do from the painting experience? As you can see, there was so much learning that was happening, not just with their language, but with their fine motor and mixing the colours, which is also science.
So you can do an introduction of primary color.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Learning to be new coloring.
They're mixing the colours,
Yeah.
And then,
making new colours,
yeah, and then do, what do you call?
washing your hands.
Coloring sorting.
Oh, yes, sorting, yep, colour sorting, yep, definitely.
And maybe other sensory
Yes,
activities.
definitely, yes.
Mm.
And you can get all these sensory ideas and things off things like Pinterest, or just even seems like it fits into my, what the children are learning about. So, yeah, you can just pop that idea in. Does anybody have any questions, anything that they're confused about?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for attending the 3 sessions, learning about observations. I really appreciate you taking out the time out of your busy schedules to do this. I hope you will gain some new skills and some new confidence into observing and writing your own observations. Over time, this will become like second nature to you. Sometimes some educators are quite good and they will just remember things, and they can then later on just write the observations when they have their programming times. I personally cannot do that. I need to write everything down, otherwise I will forget. Even so, in most early childhood settings, what they do is they will give each educator a jotting book. So it's just like a little observation book where, you know, you can write Ed Wood on the first page and just write the date and what, you know, a few dot points to remind yourself about what happened in that observation. And you could even then write what you're going to follow up straight away, because sometimes when you see it right there and there, you're like, oh yes, I can definitely do that. I'm going to follow up with this, and you can just write that straight away. So yes, and don't forget we need to fill out the feedback forms. If you're all finished your observations, I will collect those.
Thank you.
I'll just take those. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I can't
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Monica.
so much. All right, so I will read over those quite soon, and I will email all of you some information about some feedback where you might need some more information, or you know, if you're completely on the wrong track, we can get you in to do some professional development about how to develop your skills better. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Yes, so with the feedback forms, just make sure you fill those out. I forgot to say earlier. Yeah, make sure you fill them out. You can either give them to me now, or you can also send me an email. And if you've got any other questions that you feel are a bit sensitive, or you feel a bit like, oh, that's a really silly question to say, I'll be staying back afterwards, so you can have some of my one-on-one time if you'd like, and you can ask me any question you need. Yeah.
And with the observations,
Yes.
If there was a particular child that you're observing and you thought maybe they might have, you know, you had a few concerns, would you go to your supervisor?
Yes,
Or-
so what happens in that instance, you would have to collect a whole bunch of observations over, let's say, a month's period, and you would collect all this data, you would write various observations, collect all the data, take it to your supervisor, and it's, before even speaking to the parent, what you need to do is slowly, oh, I noticed this day, and the next week, oh, I noticed this, and just slowly start to feed that parent your, not concerns, but these, oh, I just noticed that so-and-so was doing this, and I think it's a bit like this. So when you do have a meeting with the parents, they're not in complete and utter shock, like, oh, where did this come from? I've never heard this before, you've never asked me, you know, you never told me that there was something wrong. Because when you go to parents with children who need that extra care and that extra help, sometimes they go into like shock and denial. So yeah, very much so. Because obviously nobody wants to know that, you know, there's maybe something wrong with their child. So it's very important to do those baby steps with the parents and make sure that they are aware that you, oh, I just noticed this, so they know that you've slowly told them